Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're well. Got a really special video coming up for you. But before we begin, please hit the like button as well as the subscribe button with post notifications on if you are indeed new to the channel. Thank you. In today's MCOC/MRock type video, it's centered on this particular article or this kind of interview that was done by the Comics Beat at New York Comic Con. The two people representing Kabam are Gabe and Megan, and they're being interviewed by Billy Hennahan. And please consider going to the link in the description to have a read. What we're going to do in this video is narrow down these points into very important bits of information for the MCOC and MRock community. Kicking off this particular interview, Gabe does make some statements about the fact that the game has had great longevity. The Summoner Showdown shows this kind of esports type thing that hopefully could be something we see concurrently over the space of the years to come, and hopefully there's a few more years for Marvel Contest of Champions, especially considering a lot of other games have died. Marvel Battle Lines, it's so sad to hear that a Marvel game on the mobile platform is done and dusted, but it's good to see obviously the game that we've invested time, effort and money into has some sort of longevity to it, so that is fantastic news. Also talking about honesty, and yes, they even say in some statements that they've got stuff wrong. They get champions right and they get champions wrong. Also talking about the idea of where things factor into secret wars and whole story arcs is something we're going to go into in a moment. Just before we go into our kind of story type aspects, we've got this point here, and that's all about aging technology, and something that I'd like to see from Kabam more. It's more on this. So they're saying we had to support iPhone 4 when we launched, as we had to tone down a lot of the things that we could do at the time, but they pull it off. And obviously that's talking about the design side of things and the technicals. But the fact is, where we're up to now, and a bit of honesty from the developer about what devices are the best ones to run the game, because I think a lot of people are turned off because they go, right, well, I'm going to use this device and it's not working as well as maybe it should do. I know it's not the main factor, but it's still nice to have that idea of honesty. And when it comes to story, that is good to fundamentally build a game around. The biggest problem that MCOC has, and obviously the same thing I think a lot of Marvel-based games and reward structure-based games has, is that people don't really care too much about storylines. And that is good that we have things like motion comics, and as well got a narrative of things. It was a great privilege to actually have something of a transcript or a little synopsis of what the November event is going to be like in Marvel Contest of Champions. So I could do something with just putting some different types of images together that kind of pinpoints a weave of that story. So that was good to see, but at the same time, will people like this? I think they will. I think they want to see something different. It's not just a case of seeing your specific character in Marvel that you like seeing in your certain style. They've got different aspects. The Spider-Man looks a little Spider-Gwen looking character, looks a bit like Assassin's Creed, but more of a steampunk version, which I think is good because it gets people interested and maybe like the way that character looks, as opposed to maybe something else. Also, for a lot of us, I think they're really much chomping at the bit to try and see what this game is going to look like. The idea of how this live PvP or real-time PvP is going to look like, how it's going to work out. Those fundamental things are still yet to be seen. So in the coming months, we need to see this stuff. Megan goes a little bit further to explain and saying it's PvP, but it's one versus computer pretty much. This is 3 players versus 3 players, and we'll have PvE as well. There will be strategy and team based. We'll have all these RPG rules. These are superheroes that work together. So we're finally happen to see the synergy so that when people go into combat, they'll be able to have Black Panther, Iron Man and Hulk working together. So unlike MCOC where you're stipulated to work with certain types of synergy groups, you actually got stipulated ones you've got to stay with. I think that's how it was. If not, you don't get certain bonuses without any kind of synergies in place. You're synergizing with your type of house, faction, affiliation, and such like. Either way, I don't again think that this kind of gives you much more to go on, and the idea that this is real, it's in real time. I don't know if that kind of doesn't really sound like that is the case, and does very much seem like is this turn-based? Is this kind of like World of Warcraft meets this? Again, very hard to see without actually kind of getting an idea from visualization. And I'm a person that likes to see visuals first and kind of gameplay before going, oh yeah, this could work. Oh, I see what they're doing with this one. So I still very much feel in the dark. Further aspects of stuff that I just said there can actually be picked up in this statement. Even ideas of people going, oh, I've seen that person's quite epic. Oh, look, they have that specific type of customizational kind of armor. Even saying the idea like, oh, that's Spider-Man with a Gatling gun. That's famous across the Marvel realm universe. And again, makes you feel like that this is a little bit free roaming, but not. But as well, stuff that players go, oh, I've met up against that person. They are totally epic. So they've got that boss-ass gun. They've got like so many other things. And that kind of puts it again into like, I remember like World of Warcraft, like, oh, you've got the X armor or the Y armor or this completely amazing stuff. So you're like, right, well, that person goes down in history as being a bit of a legend within the game. I think that's what they're trying to get out with this one. You essentially become a house member, you then work through different missions, and then you're able to get gear, and then you're able to move up the ranks, recruit other types of characters, and you're not really saying, hello, I'm Peter Parker Spider-Man, you're Joe Bloggs as the Spider-Man, or something along those lines, especially from what I've read from this statement here. The more that I read up in certain aspects of this and the way that you're building your gear in order to do better stuff, it does make me feel that this is similar to a game that I've been playing quite a bit and a sponsored game that I've had on the channel called Raid Shadow Legends, which, like I said, I really enjoy. But is this something going to be exactly like this? When I posed this question to Gabe at New York Comic Con, it was a case that I don't think they particularly heard about the game, but the dynamic seems it's similar, but not exactly. And again, without any gameplay, we're just kind of pissing in the wind to kind of find out what does this game visually look like, and the stuff they're describing for the game, we really need to see a little bit more. Also, it looks like Gabe talking about reworks and still like the idea of Magneto. Come on, man, make it happen. It's got to be the case. We've got to get Magneto buffed. Also, Gabe's confirmed that there's a secret laptop at Kabam which has a link to Disney on Marvel. It's going to give them ideas of designs that's coming up for the MCU, which is really amazing, especially all this kind of secret stuff. It's like, it's so top secret nowadays, and obviously if they gave away any kind of secrets, it would put their kind of license at jeopardy. So keep it secret, keep it safe. Gabe confirms that we're going to have new characters built for Black Widow and Eternals. Eternals, you're going to see quite a lot of characters, but when it comes to Black Widow, I think you're only going to see Red Guardian. I think that's probably the best one that will be fitting in there. I think there's a good link to Captain America for that, Captain America World War II, and the whole kind of timeline. Don't think that's going to be in the film. You're not going to see Chris Evans, but I do think you're going to see David Harbour's character as Red Guardian. I think it's actually been confirmed that that is indeed the case. At this point, I've got major feels for Gabe, because he says here like he gets a bit sad when he's put time and effort into these characters, and then it's the case that the stuff is data mined, which obviously it's a thing, it happens, and it's then posted out that it's unfinished work. At the end of the day, I think we all know it's unfinished work, and he's like, oh, I'm sad, it's unfinished work. Yeah, I think the community's a lot smarter. They'll go, yeah, great, hype, and that's what they want to see. They want to see hype. Regardless if it's unfinished work, it's a hype in the community that is really darn cool. Imagine those like first 2 days, kind of like it being put out, hype, people are interested, CTP, put out some stuff, more hype, and then it's released, hype, go against it at an event, hype. I'm going to stop saying hype now. But the fact is, yeah, I think we all know, we're not morons, I think we all kind of know that it's unfinished work, but it's amazing to have hype in the game. Gabe confirms that we're likely to see characters from MCOC going over to MCOC, and I'd love to see the Ancient One version of Doctor Strange actually come from one game to the other. Basically because he's going to be super powerful and super darn crazy at the same time. Also, there's so many others. There's Apocalypse. There's literally so many decent characters that have been kind of put together in MCOC, which I would love to see in MCOC in the future. Gabe makes a point about the fact that YouTubers sometimes yell out about stuff, and that's the thing about talking about frustrations. The whole topic of this particular segment of talk is all about putting in stuff like Alliance Quest nodes, Alliance Wars nodes, that can be frustrating to some players, and the fact that there are people that are very vocal about this. And I always think that's kind of good to have those that maybe are vocal about stuff they don't believe in, that the game's going down the route, and say as well the same thing with the other people that go, well, I'm happy with the level they're trying to make it as too competitive. And that's the thing, it's the competition skill-based game that is great and it's amazing, but at the same time it does cause frustrations. If you kind of feel that you're, okay, I played quite well, but I'm playing on an older device with some subpar Wi-Fi, then you're not going to get the same experience of those in great catchment areas for Wi-Fi or internet in general, and as well those that maybe have the most latest device or the most strongest device to power the game. It's a case of like trying to keep everybody happy, even though there's some things that will be a different experience to others. Also, there's something that gives me a little bit of hope for the future. In this particular statement here, Gabe is talking about the idea of scrolls, and as we know, we have had scrolls in the game, and there was a kind of image placeholder or a type of build for the character, but we never saw anything put in. And I think it's again down to ambition that Kabam were looking to put something in, and talking about the idea of shape-shifting. Now, as you know, we've been talking about Mystique for the last few years, and this kind of in-depth look, actually I really like. I like that there was the honesty there, talking about the file loading aspect of trying to upload every character for every single different fight. If you're shape-shifting to be exactly replicating a different character, then there's a lot more going on than you might think. So if you're kind of going, hey, I'm Wolverine, I'm going into a fight, or I'm Mystique going into a fight against Wolverine, then you've got to replicate the type of build of that character. And how would that work? Would it be a case that Mystique retains some sort of unique abilities, and on top of that has Wolverine's abilities to boot? Those are fundamental things that cause a great amount of headache, and I don't envy Kabam in trying to sort this out. But if they can look to get Mystique in the game, and maybe this slightly confirms that we could have something in the works for 2020, hey, I'm all for it. And the return of the Skrulls in game, that's going to be pretty exciting for 2020. Also, a question that was put to Kabam, which was something that I missed out to cover in my interview. I did have a very short space of time to get the interview done before I had to fly, but the point remains. Are we going to see something of special bonuses for those that have a Kabam account, or those that had Marvel Contest of Champions based account as well? So yeah, it's down to the Kabam account. They're looking into ideas of integrating it, so if you have a Kabam account, you may be able to get special bonuses, which I think is kind of cool. Cross-platform, players that are taking up Marvel Realm of Champions. Oh, download Marvel Contest of Champions, new player. It's really good to have that kind of cross-comparison and as well cross-usage. So yeah, I'm all for this. I think this is a great idea, and especially for the longevity of not just MROC, but also MCOC as well. Get those new players to get shifted and interested in MCOC. And the final thing to talk about is the gearing system. Yes, well, how do we get more gear? And the fact is, we just don't know. There's a good talk about here about other games and the way they do it. Drops from chests, crystals, right the way through to getting it from doing different types of events and such like. Yeah, there's still things to be discussed. Still 2020, and we don't know a date in 2020 that the game is going to be released, but I'm sure as the months progress we'll learn a lot more about the game. That was indeed a really interesting interview. I liked the way that we found out more about the idea of shape-shifting, as well the honesty side of things for the game. Nice to know a little bit more about aging technology, and that's something that I would like Kabam to kind of let us know a bit more. What are the best devices to play MCOC on? And yeah, so many stuff with Marvel Realm of Champions, from the point of story construction right the way through to, well, what are we likely to see? Still not a lot of information to go on, but enough to make us kind of go, right, well, as the months progress, new announcements, which will probably be put on the website, as well as the Twitter page for MRoC, and obviously do check that out. We'll find out a lot more as things progress. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like button, subscribe for more Marvel Contest of Champions and Marvel Realm of Champions content, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye for now.